General Hospital's mother-slash-daughter duo reunited at last. Last weekend, two General Hospital faves were reunited and fans were so happy to get a glimpse of the former on-screen mother-slash-daughter duo. Finola Hughes, Anna, took a trip to Malibu to support artist Rob Lyles White, who happens to be the partner of Kimberly McCullough, ex-Robin. While at his show, the ladies posed for a pic, and it was so great seeing them together again. So in awe of Rob Lyles White's beautiful show opening last night, Hughes shared on June 23, "Super cool, skater vibe. Love me some Kimberly." To which McCullough replied, "Love you, Finn. Thanks for coming out." The event took place at Third Space at 23,357 Pacific Coast Highway, and the former ABC soap actress couldn't have been happier for her man. "So proud of my babe Rob Lyles White," she shared, then commented on one particular picture. "I've always liked skater boys, but I love this one the most. Congrats on an amazing show." The actress turned director last appeared in Port Charles in May 2021 when the show paid tribute to John Reilly, ex-Scene, who passed away in January that same year. And having seen the actresses sharing the same space again, fans expressed just how much they miss seeing them on their daytime screens. In the bustling halls of General Hospital, emotions ran high as a long-lost mother and daughter finally found themselves face-to-face after years of separation. The hospital, usually a hub of medical drama and daily routines, suddenly became the backdrop for a deeply personal reunion that touched the hearts of staff and patients alike. The daughter, Sarah, had grown up not knowing her mother's identity. Raised by her father and stepmother, she had always felt a void, a missing piece in the puzzle of her life. Her father, who had passed away tragically a few years prior, had left Sarah with a cryptic message hinting at her mother's existence. This vague clue set Sarah on a quest, piecing together fragments of information over the years until she finally discovered that her mother had been working as a nurse at General Hospital all this time. Meanwhile, across town, in a modest apartment, Sarah's mother, Emily, had never forgotten the daughter she was forced to leave behind. Circumstances beyond her control had separated them when Sarah was just an infant. Emily had dedicated her life to nursing, hoping that one day fate would bring her back to the child she never got to raise. The moment of reunion was as poignant as it was unexpected. Sarah had come to the hospital for a routine checkup, unaware that her mother worked there. As she sat in the waiting room, nervously flipping through a magazine, Emily happened to walk by, her heart skipping a beat as she caught a glimpse of her daughter's profile. Their eyes met across the room, and time seemed to stand still. Sarah felt a rush of inexplicable warmth, a deep sense of connection that she couldn't explain. Emily, unable to believe her eyes, approached tentatively, unsure if Sarah would welcome her presence after all these years. "Sarah," Emily whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of hope and fear. Sarah looked up, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief. "Mom," she managed to choke out, tears welling up in her eyes. Without another word, mother and daughter embraced, a lifetime of longing and separation melting away in that one heartfelt hug. The waiting room around them faded into the background as they held each other tightly, each feeling the echo of the years they had spent apart. The hospital staff, witnessing this emotional scene, discreetly gave them space while silently cheering for the reunion that seemed to heal old wounds. Nurses wiped away tears, doctors paused in their rounds, and even patients waiting for their appointments couldn't help but be moved by the raw emotion unfolding before them. After what felt like an eternity, Emily and Sarah reluctantly pulled away, their hands still clasped tightly together. "I've waited so long for this moment," Emily whispered, her voice filled with a mixture of joy and sadness. Sarah nodded, unable to find words to express the whirlwind of emotions coursing through her. "I can't believe we finally found each other," she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. Emily smiled through her tears, brushing a lock of hair away from Sarah's face. "I never stopped looking for you," she admitted softly, "even when it seemed impossible." They sat down together in the corner of the waiting room, oblivious to the world around them as they began to share their stories. Emily recounted the circumstances that had torn them apart, her voice trembling with emotion as she spoke of the pain of losing her daughter. Sarah listened intently, her heart breaking and healing at the same time. She spoke of her childhood, the love of her father and stepmother who had raised her, and the emptiness she had always felt without knowing her biological mother. As they talked, they discovered shared interests and quirks that seemed to defy the years they had spent apart. Emily couldn't believe how much Sarah resembled her in both appearance and personality. Sarah marveled at the strength and resilience her mother had shown over the years. Hours passed in what felt like minutes as they caught up on lost time. The hospital staff discreetly checked in on them, ensuring they had everything they needed without intruding on the intimate reunion. By the time they finally stood up to leave, they felt as if a bond that had been broken had been miraculously repaired. Emily took Sarah's hands in hers once more, her eyes shining with love and gratitude. "I hope you can forgive me for not being there all those years," she said softly. Sarah squeezed her mother's hands gently, a reassuring smile on her face. "There's nothing to forgive," she replied, her voice steady and filled with conviction. "We have the rest of our lives to make up for lost time." As they walked out of the hospital together, arm in arm, a new chapter began for Emily and Sarah. They knew there would be challenges ahead as they navigated their rekindled relationship, but they also knew that they had something precious now that nothing could ever take away. General Hospital, usually a place of medical crisis and emergencies, had witnessed a different kind of miracle that day, a reunion that reminded everyone of the power of love, forgiveness, and the enduring bond between a mother and her daughter.